Hello everybody, this is Albert with Green Tea House. I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about what is red tea and why there's a confusion among tea enthusiasts as to what is red tea, because red tea, the term, is used for really two different types of tea. Now before we begin, I highly recommend you check out our back catalog of episodes, and I'll make sure that I put some banners up here that are relevant to what we're talking about today. So if you ask somebody on the street, what is red tea? They're probably not going to give you an answer, because most people on the street, when they drink tea, it's normally like chamomile or peppermint, which are really in fact tisanes, or maybe they'll say they drink a black or a green. But if you ask somebody who does drink tea, what is red tea? You might be surprised at the answer that you get, because red tea, the term red tea, means two different things in two different parts of the world. So what is red tea? Let's get one clarification out. Red tea is rooibos tea. We have an episode here what that is. So it comes from the Aspalanthus linear shrub that's grown in southern Africa, and that is an herbal. So it's a tisane. It's a non-caffeinated shrub that is commonly called red tea or rooibos tea, and it kind of has like a vanilla aroma to it. So that is what most Westerners would call red tea. Now, what's tricky is that in China, black tea is called red tea. And why do the Chinese call black tea the red tea? Well, if you look at the liqueur or the color of most black teas, just any of them in China, like the smoky one, like Laipxing Shaoxing, one of those, it's red in color. It's red in color. So they don't call black tea red tea. They call it red tea. We call it black tea in the West. And so that's why it can be confusing. And then they use the term black tea or dark tea for the dark teas, which are the fermented drinks that we commonly call pu'er. So pu'er is a fermented dark tea. Dark teas are one of the 6 categories of teas that come from the Camellia sinensis plant. But commonly dark teas are misconfused or confused as being a black tea. They are not. That they go through a fermentation process, and it's a completely separate process than a black tea. But again, the terminology can confuse people. So in China, the Chinese call black tea red teas. And then they call dark tea, sometimes they'll use it interchangeably as a black tea. A black tea is a dark tea, which the black tea and the dark tea that they call, we would call pu'er, even though pu'er is just one type of fermented dark tea. So again, it can be really, really confusing. And then even some people would call hibiscus a red tea, even though this is more of a minority view. And hibiscus is great. We sell hibiscus ginger, of course. And yes, the liqueur of a hibiscus is pretty red. But the 2 main types of red teas that you would find in the world are going to be black tea. And typically the black teas that are grown in China are going to be called red teas, especially by people in that part of the world. The people in India really don't call their black tea. So if you think of Nilgiri, if you think of Darjeeling and so forth, they typically will call them black teas. But so you'll have the black teas that are called red teas by the Chinese, and then of course in southern Africa you're going to have the rooibos or red tea. So in fact there are 2 red teas, but for most Westerners there's only one red tea, and that's going to be rooibos, red tea, and then we would call black tea, even though the Chinese call it red tea. So I hope that helps. Guys, post in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and God bless.